to Spotlight on DACC. I'm Mike Irvin, your host for this program, where we take a closer look at the programs and services at Danville Area Community College. We're going to take a good look today at a program that's been around on this campus for a long time, many years, our Ag program, and it's kind of evolved over the many years into a great program today with an enrollment that's on the increase. And with me, we have our new instructor, Mr. Craig Potter, that's Natural Science and Agriculture instructor. I want to get it all in there, Craig. Thanks for joining me. Glad to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about you. You have been a student here, so you're kind of making full circle now, right? And coming back from your time in the Ag program as a student and now as an instructor. Tell me what you've seen change over the time that you started here and now that you're back.
A lot of change in technology. Many more computers, many more directed science classes towards agriculture, I believe.
Okay. When we were students in the Ag program, it seemed to be a pretty important program, pretty actively involved with our students and so on. That has run some ups and downs, hasn't it, over the years?
It has been up and down, cyclical, I like to call it, and I believe we're back on an upswing.
That's good.
Primarily because of the technology swing we're having in agriculture out in the workforce.
So that's caused or generated some interest among our students then?
An exceptional interest. We have the biotechnology and the research fields, and we also have the technology GPS, GIS systems for yield monitoring, accountability, soil fertility, those types of areas.
So we'll talk a little bit about the real technology of it before too long. As far as the Ag program, you've been in the high school for a period of years, 18 years I think you mentioned. How's the Ag program in the high schools going now, and then how does that feed into our program? Is that doing well?
It is doing well. In fact, in the last couple of years, the Ag program at the high school level has increased again.
It has.
Another interest, I believe, again, because of the technology coming in. We're seeing less and less students coming directly from the farm, and we're seeing more interest from city or community students that are beginning to be enlightened by all the different technology that's going on in the world.
When we were students back here in the Ag program, a lot of our co-students were directly off of the farm. They were just getting some college education. They were going back into the Ag production part of it. But now they're looking at other things. Is that right?
I'd say probably 10 to 15% of our students here today at the junior college, area community college, are actually going to return into production agriculture. The rest of them are going into some type of industry related to agriculture.
Well, let's talk about some of that real quick. What do our students who come into our Ag programs today have to look forward to professionally? What are their long-range plans, and where does industry see them fitting in?
2 or 3 fields. Probably the chief one is research. With the biotechnology that's going on today in seed research and the way the chemical companies are now investing in seed companies to develop new hybrids which are insect and disease resistant as well as chemical resistant. There's a huge area for biological sciences and research to go there. Secondly, probably an accountability where we have the GPS, Global Position Satellite System, and the GIS, Geological Information Systems, which are bringing our perspective from what we used to say from a field down to a segment of a field, a 2.5-acre plot for yield, fertility, soil ranking, insect and crop damages, just everything. We bring it all down and we individually place it so it's monitoring it.
I see. Okay. So it's those kind of things that are generating the interest among our students, and that's where their career fields then are taking them, more technology.
More technology, and in that area there's going to be a tremendous amount of electronics which will be involved. So there's students that are beginning to see that agriculture is not just corn and soybeans and hogs and cows anymore. There's a lot more technology in it than they ever thought.
Sure. What kind of programs and certificates, I guess, do we offer now in the Ag program? When I was here, it seemed like it was either Ag supply or Ag production, or Ag mechanics, I guess.
Basically the same. Still, we're in Ag business or Ag production, sales and service type, an associate degree or career orientation, or production agriculture, where they're going back to the home farm. But we also offer the transfer program, which guides them from a little smaller institution to a larger institution where they can pick up these other areas.
I see. Okay. Give us an idea of how many students we have involved in our Ag program now.
Tom Hainline are trying to put a count to that, and we're between 32 and 40 students in the ag program, transfer and career.
And that would be up considerably?
That's up considerably from a year ago.
Okay. And do you see then that trend continuing for the next few years?
We hope to see that trend increase not only naturally, but we intend to do some type of recruitment program this spring.
Right? I see.
To see if we can wedge a few more in here.
Okay. We know it's not just because of you, right?
Right.
Yeah,
okay. We like to think that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's, just before we go into the technology part and what people are, what the students are looking at, what kind of classes are they required to take in most of their core curriculum? When you come into ag program, you think, well, does that mean I got to go to speech too and all these others? So what do they come out of here with?
I'm afraid so. Yes, they have to have a basic math background, rhetoric, English, science, and most of them a chemistry or zoology type background.
Okay. As
well as their agricultural credits.
Okay. So they get not only a well-rounded general education, but then they got the specifics
right.
too, and they have to have all that.
I try to emphasize to my students, even if they're in the career program, the associate's program, that we may not or they may not want to stop at the end of 2 years. Even though they started in a career program, we've left open that opportunity. I know Southern Illinois University accepts most of our credits. So they can transfer on and go on to a four-year degree, even if they're in a career program, an associate's degree program.
Right.
Of course, the ag transfer students are keyed on going on.
Right.
And many of those don't even receive the associate's degree, they just transfer.
Well, let us get into then some of this real technology, because there's going to be some people that are watching our program and realize that DACC is technologically advanced in just about every field, and now we're talking about agriculture and how that affects the future for our ag students and what technology all involves for them. You talk about GPS and something else that I don't understand, but let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, let's back up. When I was here in 71 through 73, we were back over here in building 9 or 10, and our makeshift labs sometimes was an incubator, did some germination testing, and maybe did some soil identification and that sort of thing. Today, I teach over Mary Miller Complex. We have a complex of 5 labs over there. We do pretty extensive soil research, agronomy, and we get into biological sciences as well, which is a background then for research into the genetics of crops and livestock. The other thing is since I was here before, we have a test plot down south of VA, about 17 acres, which we have different trial plots of different types of crops, and we use that as a soils lab as well as crops lab. So that's a real benefit from when we were here. Going on, Tom Hainline also teaches over the Tech Center, and we have an extensive computer outlay over there. So the accounts, the accountability, the marketing, ag economics, and those sort of classes are basically computer related, which brings us up to times in the computer technology, which many farmers are getting computer literate.
Sure.
That weren't in our times. Where do we go from here? As far as all this is, hopefully in the next few years, we can increase our agricultural numbers. We can increase our technology as far as GPS, global position satellite, which is a system which actually isolates and monitors or marks places. So we can go back and take soil sampling in an exact location year after year, or we can take a yield check from an exact location year after year after year.
I've heard of global positioning for vehicles, people as they're trying to get from one place to another place, and you hear about it for in airplanes and in ships at sea and so forth. It's hard for me to imagine how global positioning works in the agricultural industry.
Where does it work in the... Okay, we are just on the onset of this as far as any industry. Primarily, we're using it in yield monitoring, where a farmer would have a yield monitor on his combine, and as he cuts across the field any direction, then with the GPS system, the satellite system is exactly locating where he is, and for every acre to 2.5 acre plot that he combines, it puts down a bit of information, which is, in a yield monitor would be grain moisture and grain yield. How many pounds came into the tank in that area. fertilizer industry uses it for fertilizer placement so that we can go out and do an extensive soil mapping, take the soil fertility of every acre to 2.5 acre plot, and then we can go back out and apply in those areas the exact amount of nutrients which are needed.
It's almost hard to imagine.
It's hard to fathom.
It is. Is this expensive for a farmer to be involved in that?
The initial outlay for monitor systems is quite expensive, but it's like all electronics, it'll eventually come back down.
Sure.
But the key point is if we can isolate an area which, say, has all the potential fertility on it, but is not yielding, then there's no need to put the extra fertility on it. I mean, we were in a plan from when we were in there, and we said, okay, we're going to apply 300 pounds of a fertilizer to an entire field because that's what the soil map said to do.
Right.
We won't do that. We'll say 300 pounds to this 2.5 acre plot and 250 to this, maybe only 150 here.
I see.
And as the truck goes across, the GPS system will tell it where it's at, and it will go through a computer outlaid map and will only apply the amount needed for that area.
That's just is almost beyond the scope of imagination, I guess.
They call it precision farming or global positioning, and it works. And in that respect, we will reduce the amount of nutrients and amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium that we're putting on.
I see.
And so if it works, which it's supposed to, we'll actually cut their costs. And in that respect, I also teach environmental science, so I keep telling those students that we won't put on as much nitrogen and we won't put on as much fertility. And hopefully we'll angle down this thing where we're getting too much down here in Lake Vermilion.
Right.
And,
I see. Well, I know this kind of veers off of what we started at, but it's important to know that this technology is there, and that when students are looking at coming to DACC into the ag program, that we can offer them this kind of beginning studies, I guess, towards that kind of technology.
Yes, we're in the beginning studies. Right. I don't think my division is quite ready to invest in a GPS system for us yet. We do hope to have a local fertilizer plant come out this fall and map our test plots for us.
Right.
And then from that map, hopefully we can do soil sampling, and we can start to map and do soil fertility on our test plots.
Right. The future then for an ag student is pretty bright?
Wide open.
Wide open.
One area which we haven't talked about and I would like to see some involvement with in the future is food science. And we have a tremendous, basically everything we buy today is pre-cooked, pre-packaged, and that's a tremendous area which is directly involved with agriculture.
And the future as far as professional positions in that particular field would lead a student to where?
To management and service jobs in that area. And we have, another area we haven't talked about, primarily marketing.
Right.
Which Mr. Hainline is basically in charge of. But a tremendous amount of opportunities out there, and they are open. They are good-paying jobs. They're a career area which should be looked into, whether you are directly from the farm or are interested in agriculture, because there's so many different facets that are involved with agriculture.
We're about out of time. Craig Potter, instructor in natural science and in agriculture, thanks for joining us as we've looked at the ag program here at your Danville Area Community College. Join us again in a few moments, and we'll take another look at a program that is close to our hearts here at DACC.
Seems like technology has passed me by. I don't think I can ever catch up. Think again.
I'm a working parent. I don't think I have time for classes.
Think again.
On my budget, I really don't think school is an option.
Think again.
Who am I kidding? My chance to go to college has slipped away.
Think again. Think DACC.
Hi, I'm Lon Kruger, head men's basketball coach for the University of Illinois. The way our team excels on the court and the way all students can excel in school is by starting each day with a well-balanced breakfast. Whether you need the muscle power to slam dunk or the brain power to survive math, you'll get it by starting each day the only way. Our team knows it, and you should too. Excellence begins with breakfast.
And welcome back to Spotlight on DACC. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to look at a program that's real close to the heart at DACC because we're working with programs that help students transition from high school into the workplace and using DACC as part of that vehicle. And I have with me today a student, and that's new for us and something different because we don't generally have students, but she seems to be an expert on tech prep. Stephanie Cord from Catlin High School originally and now a student at DACC. Thank you for joining me. Glad to have you here. Stephanie, let's talk a little bit. Most people who are listening or viewing this program don't really know what tech prep is. We can take the two words apart, I guess, and come up with something, but tell us how that relates, what tech prep is and how it relates to the college and you particularly, how you got involved with it.
I think tech prep involves students and gives them an opportunity beyond the regular four-year degree path. I got involved in it my sophomore year when I applied for an apprenticeship and I received it. So.
Okay. So tech prep then takes you from high school into college, which you are here at DACC, but then from there, where do you go and what happens?
You can either go right into a workforce if you're in an apprenticeship like me, or you just get your associate's degree and go into that, or you can go on to a four-year degree or stuff like that. I think that a lot of students get more hands-on with the tech prep classes than they do in the regular classes.
Okay, so there's more of an actual work experience involved with tech prep then. And does that start then in your sophomore year also?
You're in between your junior and senior year of high school, and then every summer until you start full-time. And that's with the apprenticeship programs. With other things such as there's mentoring, there's just interviews at places, there's job shadowing that goes on in the area schools and things like that where students have the opportunity to go a little bit to a workplace and see.
How can you, Stephanie, as a sophomore, how do you know where you want to go through your college career? I mean, did you just take something that you had an interest in, or did you just choose something that they offered? How did you decide to do that?
For me, I've always wanted to be an accountant, and that's what field there was an opportunity to get an apprenticeship in it, and I took advantage of it. Okay. A lot of the students, most of the apprenticeships are in manufacturing or welding areas, and a lot of the students that get involved in it, they have the opportunity to work a little bit and see if that's really what they maybe want to do. And I know of students who have decided, well, that's not what I want to do, so they drop the program before they get to the college arena.
Now, as an accountant, though, you have to go on then to the four-year school? Or you're going to
I'm choosing to,
You are going to go ahead and get your bachelor's degree and so on. Okay. So there are programs already in place for a tech prep student to go into the four-year program right from the very beginning. Okay. Well, how many students were involved at Catlin besides yourself? Were there quite a number?
There was 2 in the class before me, and then there was 3 in my class, and there's about 4 in the class after me. So there's quite a bit for a small high school. But
is that about the normal for a high school in the area? I know you've been actively involved in tech prep and the whole program. Are there about that many students in the other high schools or surrounding communities and so on?
There's a program that's been implemented for juniors, and it takes two juniors from each high school in the area and then some from VOTEC, so there might be 4 or 5 from a certain high school.
Okay.
And it's called the leadership group, and so there's normally at least 2 students from every school.
Okay. How do you get involved in tech prep and get hooked up or linked up with an employer? Are you
with the apprenticeship program, to get linked up with an employer, there's interview processes and stuff, and Sharon Flesher from VOTEC comes out to these area schools when it's time for them to start applying and stuff, and it's normally the spring of the sophomore year, and explains it to everybody. But I'm also on a administrative board, and they're taking the apprenticeships one step forward. They're going to try post-secondary apprenticeships, which are for seniors or people that are already at DACC or adults that have decided that they want a different perspective in their career. So they're trying new things, and I think it's good.
Tell me, Stephanie, what's different about your college experience than it would be for any other high school student that came out of Catlin and decided to come to DACC and want to be an accountant? What do you see as the differences between the two?
Well, I earned my college. I mean, it's paid for me.
Oh.
But I think I have...
Well, let's back up to that just a minute, because that's an important point. You get...
Through my apprenticeship program, it's my 2 years at DACC's paid for. So,
well, see, now there's an incentive for a lot of students.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
a big incentive. And then also, even if I choose not to go on for 2 years and I just choose to finish my degree here at the Danville Area Community College, I have a full-time job waiting for me. And so that's a major incentive, and so I think it helps me attend class every day and get the best grades I can, because I want to be the best I can be.
Okay, so that's the big difference. I would say one of the biggest differences is that you get your tuition taken care of, and you have the job. That's when you say you have a job waiting, you know who you're going to be working with?
My apprenticeship is with Devereaux TPAC here in town. And I've worked out there the last couple summers, and it's the apprenticeship program started basically because the rate of people retiring is increasing tremendously, and the skilled workers aren't as available. So that's how that all started.
I see. Now, Tech Prep is more than just something that we do locally, isn't it?
Yes, it's become nationally. Illinois is a leading state in Tech Prep, though, but there's many more aspects of Tech Prep other than just the apprenticeship program and stuff. But it's basically just trying to teach kids in a different way, and I think a lot of kids like it better because it's hands-on.
Sure. We talked about apprenticeships, and that's what you're involved in, that aspect of it. What other areas are there? You just mentioned there were some others.
Job shadowing and stuff like that, mentoring.
Let's talk about those. What do you, when you say job shadowing? I know what I think of, but what is it in the Tech Prep world?
Job shadowing is, if I'm not mistaken, all the sophomores in the area get a chance at it, or freshmen, and it's worked through VOTEC, which is a major part of Tech Prep, and they go to a work site and they get to experience what they think they might be interested, a career they might be interested in, and if they go to a job shadow a doctor or a nurse and they decide that's not what they want, then they can have other opportunities down the road and just explore different things and see what they would really like. And I think that helps kids decide, this is what I want to do, and then they don't waste money in college for changing majors.
Right, I understand. Then what about mentoring? What's that about?
Mentoring is something that's not heard of a lot, but it's similar to the same thing along job shadowing.
Okay. So you're linked up with a professional or an employer in some way, and get some insight into what this job business is and work business is all about.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. What do you see as the future of the Tech Prep? It's hard to say in a Tech Prep program, but how do you see the future of it? Is it going to be a growing?
I think it's going to be growing at a tremendous rate, because the more technology we get and stuff, the more it's promoted out there. The biggest key factor right now is getting it sold in the schools, because a lot of times parents, when you get to that certain age in high school, your parents are like, you have to go on for 4 years. They don't want to believe that you can get a decent paying job with just a 2-year degree. So that's the biggest thing right now.
So you will walk out of here then with an associate's degree, and then you plan on going on, right?
And there's 2 of us in accounting at TPAC, and the other one doesn't want to go on for a 4-year degree, so she's only going to do an associate's. But I just chose I don't want to be stuck with an associate.
There's no sense starting work too soon, right?
Exactly.
Go a couple more years and get the bachelor's degree, and probably it's a good thought on your part, and we'll give you some more opportunities maybe down the road. Now, are you obligated to TPAC for a period of time?
Yes, at least a minimum of 2 years. I'm obligated to TPAC. It could be more unless they decide they don't want me anymore. But they wouldn't invest this much time in somebody if...
Now, they can't just pick anybody, can they, that applies for the tech prep? Do you have to be interviewed? Do you have to go through a process of some kind?
For the apprenticeship program, it's like a 3-step process, basically. The first process is the actual turning in thing.
An application?
Yeah, an application.
Okay, sure.
And then you go to an interview.
Okay.
And the first interview is with just yourself in front of a board of people. And then they cut that down to a certain number of people depending on the amount of positions that are available and such. And then from that, the second interview is with your parents, parent or parents, and they basically drill your parents about, well, how much are you really involved in your student's life? Are you going to really make sure that they get decent grades and stuff? And then after that, then if you're chosen, you're chosen.
I see. So you got to go through 2 interviews before they actually go through the final selection process. Okay. And then you enter the program, and you're committed then for the duration, right, and all the way through the 2 years of working for them at the end of your college experience.
Yeah, it's a minimum price to pay for education.
But you get paid for working,
yes.
so that's pretty good. And to know that there's a job out there at the end of this road for you, at least, that's good. That's a good thought. So let's talk just for a minute about the students that may be contemplating this program that are still in high school. What would you say to them? You know, you may go back to Catlin and talk to your some of your former classmates, or I guess they wouldn't be, they're a little bit younger than you. But what if there were some sophomores there that were weighing this? What would you say to them? What are the advantages and the disadvantages?
Well, actually, the last 2 years I haven't picked to talk to them.
Have you?
And I think I would say if it's an area that you're a little bit interested in, go for it. There's nothing that's going to hurt it. You won't be obligated to the company for anything if you drop out until you get to DACC, because then you'll have to pay them back.
Okay.
But go for it. It doesn't hurt anything. And the apprenticeship program is expanding tremendously. It's going in different areas, business, marketing, managing McDonald's and stuff like that. You know, they're trying to get into nursing and lawyers and stuff like that. So, but right now it's just basically banks are getting into it and stuff, but they're trying really hard to get into other areas.
So you couldn't really say there's any disadvantages to the program right now? Only advantages. So students out there who are thinking about it, we're getting it right from the voice of experience here, that this is a good program and a good opportunity for
Well, and it's a new program, and I mean new as long it hasn't been here for a long time. So they're open to new ideas. Like I've brought up gobs of ideas to Debbie Mills and things that they take in consideration, and it's an opportunity. It's an open door. They don't want to close a door on anybody, so they're going to help go along with whatever the students feel is their best interest.
Right, right. And I guess we should note, too, you mentioned Debbie Mills' name. She's our tech prep coordinator, and you're not just out here flying on your own, are you? I mean, we do have an office, we do have a director, and she's going around to the schools and talking to them about tech prep and what all that means. And we know that it is a national initiative to get young people interested in some kind of a career. You mentioned earlier, I think, that the age of our workforce is rapidly reaching retirement, and we need to have trained people, don't we, to take their place. Well, it's a good program. We're glad that you are involved in it, and glad that you're such a eloquent spokesman for it and willing to share what you know. We think that our tech prep program is a big asset to the community college, and we're glad you're part of it. Thanks for sharing that with us. Stephanie Cord, who is our tech prep student extraordinaire, I guess we would call her. She's been with us now. This is her first year at DACC in the tech prep program. We're glad that she's been willing to share some of her information and insights with us. She has been involved now for several years and is doing well in our tech prep. And if you have interest in that, please call Danville Area Community College and we'll share that information with you. We'll get you in touch with our tech prep coordinator and then the director there, and she'll come out to your school if she hasn't already been there and talk to you a little bit about being involved in the DACC tech program.